Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Is Rich Dad, Poor Dad worth reading? Today we'll be covering the book written by Robert Kiyosaki and what it's all about. Let's start with the author of the novel, Robert Kiyosaki. The author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the #1 personal finance book of all time, is Robert Kiyosaki. He is a Japanese American born in Hilo, Hawaii, and has changed the perception of using money for many. He is an entrepreneur, investor, and motivational speaker. Lots of his bank comes from his oil business and real estate. His estimated wealth is $80 million. The book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is based on Kiyosaki's childhood. Though he admitted to fictionalizing stories in the book, Kiyosaki tells the story of how his father had a PhD but struggled with money. Meanwhile, a friend's father had dropped out of high school and was a successful businessman. The lessons that Kiyosaki learned from his poor dad and his friend's rich dad are what make up the book. The novel starts off with the idea that many of us are too afraid of being branded as a weirdo in order to exit the rat race. We let the two main emotions everyone has around money dominate our decisions: fear and greed. That's why we all stick to the outdated mantra of go to school, go to college, get a job, and play it safe, when in reality, no job is safe anymore. For example, when you get a raise at your job, a wise choice would be to invest the extra money, put it into something that builds wealth like stocks or bonds, which has high risk but a lot of potential. However, most likely, your fear and greed of losing the money altogether will keep you from doing so. Throughout the novel, Robert Kiyosaki notices these traits in the poor dad and documents it. The rich dad, however, encourages Robert to adopt the mindset of work to learn instead of work to earn. He advises Robert to take a job in a field that he has no clue about, such as sales, customer service, or communications, to develop new skills. He also says to set aside 5% of your income each month to buy books and courses and attend seminars on personal finance to start building your financial IQ. A key point in this novel is something Robert Kiyosaki shares after learning it from his rich dad. He repeats this over and over. It is to use your money to acquire assets instead of liabilities. Assets are stocks, bonds, real estate that you rent out, royalties, and anything that generates money and increases in value over time. Liabilities, on the other hand, can be cars with monthly payments, a house with a mortgage, and, of course, debt. Anything that takes money out of your pocket each month is a liability. While these are some of the most significant points of the book, Robert Kiyosaki uses 3 characters in the book to perfectly execute his message. Characters that play a significant part of this novel are Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, and Poor Dad, as well as Mike. But he's not that significant. The author, Robert Kiyosaki, appears as a character in the novel, speaking in the first person and sharing the knowledge he learns from his 2 dads. The rich dad. This character is not Robert's biological father. He is the father of his best friend, Mike. He advises Robert and his son to open their own business at the age of 9 and teaches them many lessons throughout the novel. Even though he never finished 8th grade in school, he is on his way to becoming one of the richest men in Hawaii. The poor dad is Robert's biological father. He completed his education at the University of Chicago and Stanford and received a doctorate. He has a ton of debt and advises Robert to study and become rich and to work for money. The poor dad and rich dad help Robert in his journey to success. He documents many differences and understands what is most beneficial for becoming wealthy in this novel. So what can you learn from this book? There is so much to learn. The first lesson you learn is that experience makes you smarter. Robert Kiyosaki says in his book, "The more I learn, and there is a lot to learn, the more money I make simply because I gain experience and the wisdom as the years go on." And he implemented this when Robert Kiyosaki bought his first real estate property for business. He used his credit card for the down payment. Financial experts told him it was an unwise move. The investment generated only a small monthly income. However, since then, every time he makes an investment, whether in real estate or in other business ventures, he believed he became smarter because of the actual experience of going through the deal. Another lesson you learn from this novel is that most people work for money, and rich people have money work for them. One wanted me to study hard, earn a degree, and get a good job to earn money. He wanted me to study to become a professional, an attorney, or an accountant, and to go to business school for my MBA. The other encouraged me to study to be rich, to understand how money works, and to learn how to have it work for me. This quote is stated in the novel, and Robert is basically comparing his two dads and documenting what they advised him. The third lesson that you learn is that working all your life for someone can lead to financial struggle. He emphasizes that the middle class find itself in constant state of financial struggle. Their primary income is through their salary. As their wages increase, so do their taxes. And this isn't an attempt to demean anyone who spends their life working for someone else. Instead, it's to emphasize doing so holds the very real potential for a life of financial struggle for most people. The fundamental limiting factor with being an employee is that you're always trading time for money. And since you only have so much time to give to your employer, it creates an absolute limit to how much you can earn. So why did Kiyosaki write this book? Robert Kiyosaki's purpose in writing this novel was purely to educate and share to the audience the differences of mindset he grasped from his rich dad and poor dad, and which recommendations he acted on. I believe that the author wanted those interested in personal finance, entrepreneurship, business, investing, and economics to read this book to further educate themselves on these topics. This book does a great job of covering the mindset needed to get into the area of real estate and investing. It is also a very inspirational book. If you're going through financial failures and need motivation to get back up, this is a great book. Robert says, "Winners are not afraid of losing." In page 110, he then goes on to explain that those who lose are sometimes the real winners because they learn from their mistakes and become better. When initiating your plans, always be open to mistakes because they are what make you stronger than you would ever be. This shows that Robert's purpose is to inspire and motivate those interested in financial success. I would definitely recommend reading this book if you want to know about the lifestyles of rich and poor people and how to invest. It definitely does a great job of educating you on some mistakes that society trains us to make and shows how rich people think to become successful. Definitely a great read.